Producers, listen up. Do you feel like making beats is starting to get way too oversaturated these days? Well, today I'm going to be reacting to a video by another content creator named International. He's going to be giving his feedback on learning new skills as a producer and how you can stay competitive in the upcoming year. So I'm going to go ahead and review the video and go ahead and add my feedback on top of that. That way you get double the value. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Making beats just isn't enough anymore. We're moving into an era with more music producers than ever, downloading FL Studio, posting type beats, learning how to make music, and trying to make a living off it online. Meaning just making beats just isn't gonna cut it, unfortunately. And even us with our YouTube channel, making videos like these, we are encouraging people to get into music and showing people how they can actually make a living out of it for themselves. It is super important now more than ever to have a wide variety of skills and be able to do things other than just make beats, to make yourself stand out and actually have a shot of making a living with your music. This video is hugely important, as for us 2 years ago, we thought that if we could make good enough beats and we could just get them to the right people, that would be it. Bang, we'd make a living and it would be as easy as that. However, over the years, we've realized it's going to take a lot more than just being a good music producer. Being good at making music, that is to be expected. Stick through this whole video as we're going to be telling you exactly what we've been doing and what we've been thinking about recently that's going to set us up for 10, 15, 20 years in the future and allow us to reach our goals that we've set out to achieve.
Let's be honest, only a very small amount of people in today's music industry are going to be able to make it purely by just making beats and sending them out. Sure, of course, there's people like OZ, Desright, Q Beats. These guys all seem like they're just locked away in their own countries, in their own studios, just making beats and sending them out. And as far as it looks, that's kind of what they do. But these guys all got started 10 to 15 years ago, and things have changed. OZ, Desright, and Q Beats 10, 15 years ago could have spent a few years getting good at music and then already sent a DM or a tweet or something back then to a bigger producer, and that could have launched their career straight away. When now it feels like everybody's doing that. Everybody can make beats, make samples, or at least they say they can, and producers and artists and A&Rs DMs are filled to the brim with a bunch of people lacking other skills, lacking social proof, and important things we're touching on in this video. There is totally a new wave and a new type of producer that is getting traction and the opportunity to actually do this for a living.
I would say that 10 years ago, there still was a pretty high influx of producers who were, hitting people up, please, buy my beats, buy my beats, buy my beats. Maybe not specifically in the DMs, but there still definitely was a high influx of producers. Maybe loop makers, I would say they kind of more so had more leverage in the past couple years. There's more of a need for loop makers because the producers who are in a higher level, who are in the studios, who are having the opportunities, they still need loop makers so they can have a high volume of product to show the recording artists. As far as the skills go, this sparks a thought for me from a spiritual teacher named Bob Proctor. He mentioned the idea of value. So value is the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty for other people to replace you. So that's paraphrasing, but that's it in a nutshell. So regardless of what you're doing, you still want to find a unique niche or a unique lane that's going to angle you in the market. So once people get a hold of you, or once people understand who you are and the value that you bring, they know that it's not super easy to just swap you out with another person. And that gets into some of the suggestions that I give maybe in these videos and also my Heat Check Live Beat Review show. And that's getting into recording engineering. There's still a pretty high need for that. It's much easier to run into someone who makes beats as opposed to someone who knows how to record and knows how to mix a song and knows how to get a song to the level that it can actually be released. You don't have to be Jason Joshua. You don't have to be, the biggest mixer mixed by Ali or anything like that. But just being able to do that is really going to give you a whole lot of value. So those are just a couple things I want to jump out and add to that specific point that we've seen so far in this video. But let's go ahead and keep going and see what other points they touch on.
To show you an example of a producer in 2025 who we think is playing the game at one of the highest levels and is making really good progress over the years. Firstly, I'm sure you would have seen him on Instagram, Juice Koos. I don't know how to say his name, but it doesn't matter because he's all over the feed doing this for a living. If you break down what he's doing, you realize making his samples, making his beats, and sending them out is a small part of what he's doing. He's also doing other things like posting content, these reels almost daily, playing the guitar. What's so good about that is that he's realized I'm gonna make content on something that I'm really good at, and that's made him stand out and have some really viral videos. To the point where SZA even commented on one. He's had various producers get in contact with him because of these reels. He's also putting together kits, using his skills, using his guitars, he's selling kits, even releasing his own music, and all this stuff has got him placements where he's learning about the music industry, the business side of things. I mean, what a great example of a producer who, from the outside looking in, is quite a unique profile, but he's growing hugely because of that. And you can see for him, it's more than just cooking up on FL and sending it out.
That's interesting. I actually haven't ran across this producer yet, but shout out to him. I'm gonna be sure to follow him after this video. And if you guys aren't following me, make sure you go to Instagram or follow me at TheRealDesmond on Instagram. Have a lot of great stuff there. I'd be glad to stay in contact with you guys. Now, this point really gets into personal branding, which I speak a lot in my videos. So personal branding is essentially your reputation, how people think about you when you're not even there or even in the room. So him consistently showing up, consistently showing his skills, also, creating his kits, putting his music out on Spotify. All this is helping him to stand out from the other producers. Let's just say you have a producer who's just as talented as him, but they don't show their face. I speak about that a lot. You got to show your face. Another producer who's at, let's just say, even 10 times more talented than this specific producer, but rarely posts, doesn't show their face, just post little clips with the little waveform on Instagram and says, buy my beats or buy my kits. It's a bit difficult for people to connect with someone like that. It's bad enough that we're using all these screens and monitors so much these days. The ability to actually see another human on the other side is going to help connect with people. And there's another tip. I don't know if you guys know this, but if you're going to make posts, try your best to have eyes looking at the camera. So whether it's thumbnails, whether it's little thumbnails for Instagram and anything like that, people tend to gravitate to other people's eyes. So that's another way you could possibly increase the clicks and views on your little posts, on your shorts, on your YouTube thumbnails. So just want to share that gem. Also, co-sign that. Personal branding is extremely important, especially as we move into the AI era and possibly AI making beats in the near future. So we gotta make sure we stay ahead, make sure we stay connected with other people.
Next example, Steven Schaefer. You may have seen him as well on Instagram or YouTube. Similar thing. He's posting content, he's posting reels. He had his own style of reels, just like Juice did. It's getting him in front of producers, A&Rs, artists, getting him in front of producers who are gonna buy his kits, which he's also doing. He's selling kits. He records with artists. He's done whole album projects with other artists. So he knows how to record. He probably knows mixing and mastering to a basic level. And on top of that, he's most likely also getting into songwriting. So two great examples of this new wave of producer that is coming through and doing bits. And watching these guys' content, you can tell they're not necessarily born to be in front of the camera or a natural at making content. They were producers and creatives and musicians first. And
there's something I want to add in here to what we're seeing so far, and that's the power of Instagram. The power of Instagram really changes the distance between celebrities and everyday people. It is super easy to get a celebrity, a popular recording artist, attention on Instagram and even get them to respond to you. We've seen so far that even popular recording artists, famous people get triggered and will leave negative comments on people's Instagram pages if they don't like what you said, or they'll even engage on other posts with their real profiles, kind of sharing their opinions on different topics. And I've really never seen anything like this before. I don't want to age myself, but celebrities really tended to use like anonymous accounts to engage with people, but now these days they're not afraid to show who they are, show what they're talking about. And that really drills home the point on making sure that your Instagram making sure that your Instagram page looks good, looks presentable. It doesn't look like you're just in your bedroom cooking up beats in a dark corner. If you need to, go book some studio time. Have your friend take some cool pictures of you and, kind of use some filters to make it look deep. People tend to associate things that shouldn't be associated. I know we have certain cognitive biases and these different ways that we come to conclusions quickly that don't necessarily make sense. There's a good book on this by a marketer named Seth Godin. I believe it's called Marketers Tell Stories or Marketers Tell Lies. One of those two. You guys can look that up on Amazon and check out that book. And it just talks about how quickly our minds need to come to conclusions. And I make that point to say that if people see you in the studio near expensive gear or near expensive keyboards, they're going to look at you as socially higher than you may even really be in real life, just simply because you're taking these pictures and maybe you have quality music. And that same quality music from someone in a dim corner in their bedroom with, no lighting or anything like that, people are going to feel like you just don't take yourself as seriously. And just piggybacking off the main point is that people who are more famous than you would believe can easily come across you, especially if you're posting consistently. Like he mentioned, SZA actually commented on one of the producer's posts. And that same thing could possibly happen to you as long as you post consistently. Make sure you have professional looking imagery and videos. Don't just post an animated picture of a popular recording artist or anything like that. Take some time to be in the studio. If you have to save time, if you have to work overtime to save enough money to book studio time in your biggest studio in whatever city that you live in, then do it. Take a bunch of pictures, bring extra clothes and take even more pictures, and then just store it and then post it and drip it over time and then play your music along with that. That's the power of branding. That's the power of how we associate things together. So for everyone out there who kind of feels like they have to wait until they're perfect and then start posting, do it now. Just understand how people perceive you based on the environment that you're in. So I just want to go ahead and lay that point out. More famous people are going to be able to see you than you may know. So let's get back to the video.
They were producers and creatives and musicians first and realized putting my face out there and being seen on social media is just going to have to be a part of my progression as a producer. And that's exactly what they're doing.
We spent a few minutes writing a list on all the other things that we could think of that you could be doing other than making beats or samples. So I'm just going to list them off here. And after this, we're going to show you how we actually implement these into our daily routine of building our skills. So becoming a creative and actually learning how to implement your ideas, bring them to life with whatever DAW or instrument you're using. Writing songs, playing instruments, recording artists, practicing arrangement and just building full samples, full songs and mixing it around and adding stuff, taking stuff out. There's a lot you can learn with arrangement and it's a very important skill. Mixing and mastering, recording artists, actually producing really good music, really finding your sound, creating music that you like, that you think is good. Engaging on social media, creating demos from start to finish or even just little ideas and just having them exported on your computer that you can listen to, you can show people, you can release your own music, get an idea of how to film footage in somewhat of an aesthetic way and how to edit it, just chop it up. You never know when skills like these will come in handy. Sending your music out all the time. This is a very important one if you want your music to be heard. What works best? Is it email? Is it iMessage? Is it Dropbox? What A&Rs can you send to? What artists? What producers? What managers? And what stuff should you be sending them? What stuff shouldn't you be sending them? Should you be keeping this exclusive for this person? Should you be sending this to other people as well? And we're going to be talking about that more in the video. Very important skill to learn. Building a following on your socials, engaging in social media, creating content, and then just keeping on trying. Don't just try something and stop. Understanding the music business. How do you get paid from royalties? How do royalties work? What different kinds of royalties are there? Absolutely crucial if you actually want to get paid and not stuffed over in the music industry. And just working on self-belief and doing things because you believe in yourself rather than other people believing in you, other people giving you validation for what you're doing. You need to understand and learn if you're built on self-belief, that is how you keep pushing towards your goals over 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
That was a great last point he made. You have to be persistent because it's super easy to get discouraged. we can start on the path of music production and then start to see other things on the way and just be curious about it. Let's just say you're a producer and you found that you really like editing videos. You like the creative side of, color correction and all that fun stuff. Or you start the path of being a music producer, then you realize you like playing the guitar more often and more frequently. Or you like recording people and mixing and mastering. In my case, that's something that started to come in my purview in the music production journey. So this is one thing I like to drill home is that music production is somewhat broad. It's not just you knowing how to cook up a fire beat. Music production can also be you learning how to vocal produce. If you have that skill, you don't have to hide it. I've come across quite a few rappers who actually can sing really well, which kind of blew me away. I'm like, you can sing really well. All you're doing is rapping. Why don't you sing as well? See, that's another skill that you can add to your repertoire to make yourself more valuable in the music game. But for some reason, some people feel like they have to be single-minded and they have to hit that exact bullseye. If they become a music producer, they feel like if I don't get placements with Lil Baby, Drake, 21 Savage, Janae Aiko, all these famous people, then I'm not a real producer. I didn't make it. I'm not official like the producers that I look up to. And this is really a small group of producers who actually can get in those rooms. And that's why like the power of loop makers were able to get a percentage of these bigger records by associating themselves with larger producers. And I say that to say that on your journey as a music producer, all these additional skills that you may have that you think are totally irrelevant, just keep working, keep listening to interviews, keep networking. There's going to be some type of story, some type of person is going to spark something in your mind that's going to give you permission to show these skills. They're going to give you permission to let these skills out and be even more valuable than what you may think you're, for some reason, allowed to do. People feel like there's just one archetype, one version of a producer that you have to be. You have to be super fast and cook up a fire beat. Maybe you go really slow when you make a beat, and then you come back and you're thinking of multiple melodies. Maybe you play the bass guitar. You want to come back and play bass, but your friends are just cooking up like 10 beats already. You don't move that quickly. I remember an interview on Producer Grind. This producer, I believe his name was C Clips Beats. Make sure you guys correct me if I'm wrong. He mentioned that he can't make beats every day. I still remember that interview. He said, how do you guys make beats every day? I can't do that. I need to take a break. Very successful producer, but that's not his total thing. And it seems like he kind of wants to get into, branding and marketing and things of that nature. So guys, as you're learning music production, as you're honing all these different skills, as you may have a gift that you just naturally have, don't be afraid to show that and share that. There's not just one way to be a producer. Some people are struggling to find additional skills. Likely you already have one that's already there. You just need to express it and show it to the world.
And then with all of these things, just experimenting with your sound, experimenting with how you send your music out, experimenting with your content. Experimenting is the start of progression, and that is something they're going to be talking about very, very soon. Now, let's explain how you take action into starting to improve all these skills right now.
The first thing, and we've realized this has changed a lot since when we started 3 years ago, is when we go to create now, we think further than just let's make a beat or let's cook up a sample. It's changed from just trying to make the next piano and vocal sample for the sample pack to let's just see what happens. We might even make a whole song, write lyrics to it, turn it into a demo, and we create trying to just allow ourselves to follow our creative intuition with no boundaries. And it's amazing when you just let go and you do this, you stop going into every sample the same way by just dragging in a piano. Now it's like, let's start with drums, let's start with a bass, let's sample something, let's start with writing a whole verse. There's now no method or formula to creating, and the quality of stuff you can make when you really tap into that is insane.
Now, what I'm getting from that is to challenge your comfort zone. As producers, we can kind of find certain methods that work for us and then just kind of just stay there. One thing I like to point out is if you're a producer and you start working with artists and they're in the studio with you, they're going to challenge you. What you're comfortable doing, they're going to start to change that. And it sounds like in their particular scenario, there's more than one producer here working and they've all decided to just let things free flow. That's another way of challenging your comfort zone, collaborating, even collaborating in person, which seems even better. I've had beats that I've cooked up with other producers, and I'm like, I would not have made that choice. I would not have made that selection. And that just added more tools to my mental Rolodex. I know that I can possibly try this or possibly use a live bass guitar on this type of beat, and also even the arrangement of the beat. I've learned so much about arrangement just by working on beats with other producers with placements, and that's shown me a whole new world. Mainly that you guys, me myself included, were overfilling those beats with way too many sounds, which I'll always harp on. But getting back to the main point is, always challenge your comfort zone. It's easy to get comfortable. It's easy to get stagnant. It's easy to start to get so comfortable that you start to get uninspired, and collaborating and breaking the rules is always a great way to do that. Like he mentioned, doing vocals, starting with a sample, finding an old school sample and just manipulating it. Whatever your normal workflow is, don't be afraid to break it. Don't be afraid to challenge it, because you never know what type of results that you might get. And more than likely, you're going to more frequently run into happy accidents that turn into pleasant surprises, and then you can use that again in the future.
Now, we're not saying we're like that 100% of the time. We've only been doing this for 3 years. Of course, if an opportunity pops up, they need a certain type of trap beat for something, and we want to take that. We're going to be creating with that in mind. We're going to be going for that type of sound. But more and more, we're thinking about going into creating like it's a piece of art, like it's a song. And if that can make sense for you, it has made so much sense for us and benefited us and our music. Not only can the music get better, but think about different skills you're using when there's no rules and you use your creative intuition. Now we'll catch ourselves writing lyrics and making a whole song and recording our voices, or making a whole old school disco drum track and then adding real instruments, and it ends up just turning into a drill sample or something. So when you next cook up, maybe just try writing a whole song, doing everything, see where it takes you. And if all goes wrong, well, at least you've practiced these different skills that maybe you didn't even think of doing beforehand. Now compound making one song a week along with your samples and beats over 5 to 10 years, and then you're in a studio, you have demos of songs, you have the skills to record vocals, to do so many more things than just if you were to spend the next 5 years doing the same old, making a trap beat just like all these other people are doing. We hope that makes sense. Let's move on from that.
Experimenting is the start of progression. And when it comes to building skills, you can't get better at a skill, you can't get better at songwriting, you can't get better at making music unless you've experimented, unless you've tried something and it didn't go well. So, okay, get the feedback and you try again. And then maybe that didn't work, but you try for the third time, and eventually you're going to break through. And if you keep trying, you're going to find something that works. An example of this, if you've seen our last vlog a few weeks ago, we went to a house one night with one intention: to make cool music. No boundaries, no limits on the kind of music we wanted to make. And a few of the things, we just had no idea what we were going to do. We didn't know whether it was going to be an Afrobeat. We didn't know whether it was going to be a trap, a drill song, a disco song, a R&B song. We had no clue. And we ended up making the start of an idea of a song that we last night actually just finished. Wrote lyrics, recorded our vocals, did harmonies, ad-libs, everything. We've got a full song now. From all this experimenting, our skills have just improved in all these areas, and eventually it's all come together to the song that we made just out of the blue. Now you may be thinking, what are we doing with all this music we're making in all sorts of different genres? Surely you would think, stick to one path and just go through with it all the way. As we go through these projects and all the music we made for this specific night, we've realized that one, we can use them as demos. The song, for example, we could send it, find an artist for the genre, send that person a demo, bang, they could use it like that. If we wanted to, we could rip the sample from it, flip it, slow it down, speed it up, whatever we want to do with it. And same goes for all the other beats and samples we made in that one particular night, that we're just trying to be as creative as possible.
This is another great point. You never quite know when what you create is going to actually get picked up. For example, on my Made in the Studio podcast, one of my guests, OG the 3, he's a very talented producer as well as a musician. Now, he mentioned in his podcast episode that one of the songs that he created years ago, I believe it was a decade ago, got picked up by a very famous network, and they got 6 figures for that. But it was done about 10 years ago, if I'm recalling correctly. Then it finally got picked up, and that goes to show, no matter what they're cooking up right now, let's say all the artists they email don't pick it up. Let's say an artist that they're in the studio with just says skip. you never know when that's gonna actually be picked up and people gonna gravitate towards that song or towards that beat itself. So continue to cook up consistently. And just because people don't want something that you've created now, and you feel like, even if you feel like it's for the moment, doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to get picked up later. Especially when we're talking about things like sync licensing or music for TV and film. You know, if you create these full songs and they're just kind of sitting around, people can actually run across it. Once again, like the OG The Three story that I just mentioned, make sure you guys check out the Made in the Studio podcast. It's everywhere podcasts are, and it's also right here on my YouTube channel. Just click on podcast, you'll be able to find the episode. But getting back to the main point, continue to cook up, guys. Continue to be consistent. You never know when these ideas are going to take flight and could possibly even change your life. So don't be discouraged. Always make great music, and we never know exactly where they can end up.
Think about the Nokia beat, or the Nokia song that Alkin wrote and produced for Drake. Like, what is that? No one's heard that before. He just decided to sit down, just get super creative, play synths, play keys, and then sing on the song and send it to Drake. It just goes to show being creative pays off, and improving your skills in all these different areas is going to pay off as well. Just because, let's say you write a song, you produce a full song, and you've got it there exported, that may not do anything for you, but in 5 years' time, you might be in a room with somebody and that thing might just be perfect for whatever reason you're in the studio for. Just having that time and practice go into these projects is definitely just going to help you in 5-10 years' time. You are in a room with, some other songwriters, some other artists. You've had all this practice doing all this random stuff, just being creative, and now your input and all that practice is going to pay off then.
As we were scripting this video, I had a thought. Imagine international without social media. It wouldn't exist. We wouldn't be able to do this. It wouldn't be a thing. You have to use Instagram, maybe even YouTube, to network and be seen. We seriously think as a producer out there, you need to be posting some sort of content on social media. Think about it. It's free to post reels or YouTube videos out there, and there are no limits to where your video can go and who it can get in front of. Remember, Steven Schaefer, the Juice guy, their careers have exploded ever since they've started taking this social media seriously.
This gets me thinking to the why behind why people do and don't do certain things. So what do I mean by that? I mean, some people will say, I don't want to post on social media because I don't have time, or I don't want to post on social media because I have an old phone. All these things are just different excuses to a much deeper why. And I know a lot of you producers can relate to this. Sometimes it might seem like rappers are wasting your time. Let's say they found a beat that they love. They keep hitting you up about it. They say they've written a song to it, and they just kind of keep kicking the can down the road, and they never quite pull the trigger on actually purchasing or leasing the beat. And you have to get to the point where you understand the why behind what motivates people to do what they do and why they do it. For example, if a rapper is hesitating to get a beat, likely they don't really trust themselves to actually take this beat somewhere, positive, or take this beat somewhere where it's going to be fruitful for them to invest that money. Their distrust in themselves can sometimes be extended to you, and you can kind of feel like they're wasting your time. What exactly is happening? Why aren't you buying the beat? The why isn't that they need to get paid next Friday. The why is that they've released multiple singles. All of them have failed, and they feel like, I don't want to take this chance on myself because this could make me fail again. And I'm scared. I don't know what to do. And similar to that, sometimes producers will fall into that same trap, especially when it comes to content creation. The why is more so a why is I'm scared to be judged. What if somebody makes a negative comment on my post? What if my friends see this? One of the producers, another producer on my Made in the Studio podcast, Prod David S. You can find this episode. He mentioned some of his apprehension of posting content initially, like, what will my friends think? What will everybody think when they come across these clips? And he just mentioned just doing it, and all these hesitations were essentially all in his head. It's just mostly positive feedback. So producers, I want you to get out of your own way. Start posting consistently, because you never know what type of opportunities could open. One of the sayings I like to say is the same wall that protects you from pain is the same wall that can protect you from opportunity. So you have to lift that wall up and be open to the possibilities. 9 times out of 10 is all in your head. Take the chance. And what you're going to say to yourself is, I wish I'd done this sooner. So take the chance. Make sure you start posting.
Think about it. It's free to post reels or YouTube videos out there, and there are no limits to where your video can go and who it can get in front of. Remember, Steven Schaefer, the Juice guy, their careers have exploded ever since they've started taking this social media seriously. How we do it is think of what you're genuinely good at. Remember, Juice focused on the guitar videos, Steven Schaefer focused on his interesting drum bounces. Form some piece of content, and like the last step, experiment. You're not going to find it the first try. Eventually something will stick. And as your followers build, nurture their audience, post on your stories, be active, absolute necessity. Remember, without social media, none of this would be possible for everyone who's out of these hotspots in the world. So use it and use it. And how you brand yourself on it is how you're going to be seen by other people. So how do you want to be seen? And you showcase that on your social media. And then your network. You can access just about anyone in the music industry with an Instagram DM. And just remember, it's going to get easier. The more credible you are, the more placements you have, the more followers you have, the content you have, how you brand yourself. With social media, you get what you give, but it's a game that honestly you have to play as a producer to some extent. We've made branding guides in the past. We have networking guides in the past. Go watch those for the nitty-gritty details, but really take it seriously and treat it like a skill. You get better at posting on your story. You get better at making content. You get better at finding your aesthetic. Start now and just slowly keep expanding.
This is another thing. Sometimes producers want to soak up a lot of information, get all the steps, all the systems in place, and still hesitate to take action. So one thing that you guys have to do is to learn by doing. Just jump out there. It's similar to someone reading a lot of books on how to shoot a jump shot, or watching a lot of videos and YouTube tutorials on how to shoot a jump shot. But it's not until you actually get on the basketball court and start shooting the jump shots that you're going to pick up the little nuances that you never would have understood if you would have just stayed back soaking in all the information. You don't know that you need to do a nice little step for your particular jump shot. Maybe you have to look deeply at the rim and then kind of flick your wrist, and then the basketball goes in the hoop. But you don't know these little nuances that are unique to you until you actually take action. So it's good to learn information, watch these videos, get your courses, do all the different things that you want to do. However, the real learning doesn't start until you actually start taking action.
Learn the music business. It's complicated, so the earlier you get onto it, the earlier you start to get your head wrapped around what's going on and how everything works, the better it's going to be, and the more you'll be able to protect yourself. We have a video on our channel explaining everything about the music business that we currently know about landing placements, dealing with people, contracts, definitions, all these things that just sometimes feel like they're too hard to understand. But we can't stress enough how important it is to understand the different types of royalties, how you get paid, what to expect so you're not getting ripped off. Remember, if you're just another producer who makes beats and has no clue about how the business side of music works, and we know lots of these producers that just have no clue about how to get paid, publishing, master royalties, all these things, and they're just more producers adding to the thousands and thousands of producers that just get absolutely ripped off from labels. And sadly, lots of these producers just don't end up making a living out of it because it just seems too hard, and lots just end up quitting music as a whole. You don't want to turn out like that.
Yes, there are quite a few different ways to get paid in the music business. I've sold beats, I've done studio time, have studio time recording artists, mixing and mastering. I currently get income from my sync placements. These are all different ways that you can get music. These are all different ways that you can get money from the music business, but it is easy to get manipulated because there's so many different little nuances, and some of the words can just get confusing. So if you're able, of course, try to contact an attorney to help you kind of sort things out. If you're at that level where you're getting placements and you need to, take care of some paperwork. And this is another thing, and I'm not trying to overly plug my producer podcast, Made in the Studio, but I had an episode with 2-time Grammy nominated producer Drew's That Dude. And in there we spoke about kind of another angle when it comes to dealing with the music business. There's the legal side, there's the paperwork, but then there's the side that's trying to be somewhat friendly amongst people. So multiple producers, producers amongst artists, producers amongst other people in the studio, and sometimes that can get sticky. Sometimes that can get messy. It's easier to call an attorney to have things looked at when it comes to, say, paperwork from a bigger mega company. But what about the person that you spent hours with in the studio? What about the person that you told jokes with and shared wings with in the studio, and you two related stories together? Now there's a discrepancy amongst points. Now there's a discrepancy amongst who owns what. How exactly are you going to sort those things out? And in that podcast episode, Drew really spoke on, standing on your square as a person, as a producer, and understanding competing interests. So I want you guys to make sure you check out that episode. Very powerful, a lot of good game in there. And also understand, as you're working and navigating through the music business, it's not always a big mega company or a big mega celebrity that you may be in a contentious situation with. Sometimes it's the person who you're really cool with. And that can get tricky, and it's always important to kind of sort things out, talk straight with each other, and lay everything out in a transparent way.
There's so much free game. To name a few people, we've got the producer whisperer. He's always dropping game on his Instagram about how publishing works. You've got that guy Half, the owner of Split Mind. He drops an insane amount of knowledge on the music business and just how to navigate your way through it. There's just absolutely no excuse to ignore the business side of music. Sometimes you learn it the hard way through selling an exclusive sample for a few $100s, but you learn, you move into the next placement with a lot more knowledge, and make sure you're getting a good deal from it. We just want you guys to be smart with this so you're actually able to make a living with your music.
More skill maxing. Be ready to work with an artist and have those skills that you need to be able to record an artist if you're in a studio and all of a sudden someone walks in. So it's, can you collaborate with other people while in a room? I mean, there's some producers out there that may have never collaborated with someone in real life next to them. Can you record an artist if need be? Do you have vocal presets ready to pull up? Can you arrange the song? Can you do a basic mix? Maybe even, do you have an eye and a knack for filming a little video for them, editing something? Just think about these skills that you can upskill actually pretty easily if you start to work with some artists.
I'm glad he mentioned this. And this is something that I've noticed, especially amongst newer producers. You guys like your DAWs that you're comfortable in, but when it comes to the actual studio, so many of you guys know absolutely nothing about Pro Tools. Not even knowing how to continue the recording session if the engineer gets up to leave just to go to the bathroom. Not even if the artist is in the booth and he's catching a vibe and the engineer is like, well, I just need a second. If you're unable to just step up and just continue recording, that can get real tricky. You're not expected to know how to use Pro Tools, but that is a really, really underutilized skill that I see a lot of newer producers just kind of waving off. I can get the same quality in FL Studio or Logic or Ableton. At the end of the day, Pro Tools is still the industry standard amongst recording studios, and I'm shocked at how few producers even care to learn the absolute basics, just how to set up a reverb, how to set up a delay, how to use a compressor and set that up in Pro Tools and just record an artist. If you guys are able to take some time, invest some time to learn Pro Tools, that's going to help you out a lot. As a matter of fact, I have a free guide on my website. You can check out the links in the description. It's a lot of very useful shortcuts in Pro Tools. These are actually compiled directly by myself. These are shortcuts that I use and have used in the past and are very, very important. But these aren't just a random list of shortcuts that I just gathered by searching. These are things that I've had to use firsthand. And if I didn't know these different shortcuts, they could have made from very, very tricky recording sessions. So with Pro Tools, one of the main things is learning your quick keys or hot keys and able to edit audio, fly through different areas of the DAW. And guys, if you guys do not know Pro Tools, I'm telling you, you could take a total Jordan jump over a lot of your competition just by knowing that program. Just even the basics, it's going to help you a ton. So I just want to step in there. Guys, please learn at least a little bit of Pro Tools. That's going to help you out a lot.
Do you have vocal presets ready to pull up? Can you arrange the song? Can you do a basic mix? Maybe even do you have an eye and a knack for filming a little video for them, editing something? Just think about these skills that you can upskill actually pretty easily if you start to work with some artists. And for us, we put this into action because we realize when we travel, when we get into studios, which we can't do back at home, there's no music scene here. But when we go overseas, we want to be prepared with those skills, ready to record with people. That's even part of the reason we brought this mic. It's a mic that we go into a studio and someone would be prepared to record on a mic of this quality for a final take. So from time to time, we invite local artists here and we record with them, local singers. Sometimes we make samples, sometimes we make songs with them. Either way, we're always practicing, arranging songs, writing lyrics again. It's all part of maxing out those skills. And we know when we get to London next year and we're in those studios, having done this and practicing those things are going to help us that bit more. When all of a sudden we have a serious artist in the room, we can relax a bit knowing that we have experienced the whole process of making a song.
The reality is, you're going to be doing a handful of these things that we've mentioned in this video every day. And even in doing that, there is still no guarantee of anything happening. With a job, a 9 to 5, for example, you do the work and you know you're going to get paid a certain amount, whatever your wage is at the end of the week or fortnight, whatever. With the work that we do, being a creative, being a musician, there is absolutely just no certainty that you're even getting $1 back for a year of work. Thinking about it that way might seem like a good idea to just quit and not even try. But if you build your purpose on self-belief and self-validation rather than the opinions and validation from others, you will become unstoppable on your mission and whatever your goals may be.
Yes, if you're building something big, especially from scratch, it's going to be a lot of work with very little payback in the upfront. So if you have a job or you're doing some type of contract work, you already know if you put in 30 hours, 40 hours, how much money you're going to be getting. And for all the producers out there who have more responsibilities, kids and families and all that stuff, that's part of the reason why I touch on knowing Pro Tools, understanding how to record, because as a backup, you can get in the studio, record people, and have, a nest egg that you can always fall back on and get in case of any type of emergencies. But as far as building something new, creating these things and not really understanding how much you're going to get paid from it, man, you have to have a lot of confidence and faith in yourself and knowing that it's almost like planting seeds and pouring water on something. You can't plant a bunch of seeds, pour water, then look back in a couple hours and say, oh, I tried everything I could, planting seeds and pouring water this is rigged. It's the, some type of conspiracy that something's happening and all the people at the top are doing this, that, and the third. People tend to fall into that type of thinking because they want more instant gratification from what they're investing in themselves. If you keep doing something consistently over time, you're going to start to see results. Once again, like planting seeds, eventually you're going to start to see, a little stem come up, a little petal come up. You're going to start to see little stems over time, but it's not just going to pop up right there a few seconds after doing that. You have to keep coming, show up, keep coming, show up with no signs that it's actually working, but you just have to keep coming, showing up repeatedly over and over again, and then have the confidence that it's going to bloom into something big. And, of course, have that confidence, but of course, if you can find some type of mentor in the process so you don't do things in a more arduous way or a way that's taking up a lot of time, you can maybe find shortcuts through a mentor, but that still doesn't necessarily guarantee everything because everyone has their own path. And like I say, mentoring is downloading someone else's experience, uploading it into your head and helping you in the process. But all that being said, that still doesn't guarantee, the results. But what does guarantee the results is consistently showing up day after day, month after month, year after year, and having the confidence that something is eventually going to bloom. So it's not easy. It's not for everyone, but for anyone who does have the confidence to do it, it's very, very rewarding.
Building a mindset and a work ethic is a skill in itself. Be patient, be creative, be disciplined, more or less speak anything into existence. And as long as you stick through with it, you're going to be fine.
Another great point that to me that kind of gets into sacrifice. If you're doing something that other people aren't doing, you're going to have to sacrifice your time, and maybe some of the other things, partying, you're going to have to give up for a much bigger and better future that you still can't quite see. So that does take a lot of confidence. That does take a lot of persistence, but in the end, that's all worth it. It looks like that completes the video. That was an awesome video, man. I really liked this video. I really liked the game that they was dropping. I really co-signed it, so make sure you guys subscribe to these content creators as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit like and subscribe. My name is Desmond A, and I'll be back with more great videos. Peace.
Desmond A.